I'm gonna move into how I think about creating safety in memory work in a more practical sort of flow, okay? And you hear me saying these things probably again and again. But number one, always move at the pace of your nervous system. And we touched on this a little bit. I think it came up at the end of our last session with one of Min's questions, but especially in memory work, there may be memories or things, truths that you know are waiting to be uncovered. You're aware of them, but it's not, your nervous system isn't at the capacity that it can really sit with that. And this is where your sovereignty comes in. So just move at the pace of your nervous system. I think I offered this in our last session too. There's always something that is within hand's reach. There's always something that you can hold. You don't have to go for the deepest layer at once, okay? And just trust that it will be there for you in the right time. For me, I always follow curiosity and compassion. You'll experience this today in our exercise. Let compassion lead, let curiosity lead. It's okay to be in like phases and seasons of your life where you're just looking more deeply at one part of yourself and you don't have to see the whole picture all at once. That's almost impossible. For me, I'm coming out of a season because of, growing this coaching business, this story work, where I've really been interrogating, how did I even start calling myself a storyteller? When did that start? What is my relationship with stories? And it's so funny because in that work, it all brought me back to, actually, this is all rooted in my constant curiosity of interconnected systems and nature and all those things. And so one thing will bring you to another. It all has its time and place, but let curiosity lead and always hold compassion as you are looking at yourself. As you're doing this work, I just invite you and remind you to slow down, pause, and stop. Several of you talked about the power of pause today in your practice, and so this is a beautiful collective reminder that many of these things require time and slowness, and sometimes we even have to set it aside and say, okay, I saw what I needed to see right now. I don't have the capacity to keep going. I'm going to set it here and come back to it when I'm ready, okay? And then again, draw from your resources. This is why the curriculum is even in this order. You've had several weeks now to really think and examine and gather your resources to you. What are your somatic rituals? Where is your inner voice that really comforts you and coaches you and speaks loving, encouraging words to you? You need all of those resources as you dive into the deeper layers of this work. Okay. And then number 5 is just really practical. Contain your work in safe times and spaces. So it's usually not something that I would come to when I have only 5 minutes before, my kids are going to rush through the door after school. So like from your day to day, think about containing your work in safe times and spaces so you don't get really activated or you get deep in your memories in yourself, and then you're not fully present or feeling well resourced for whatever else is flowing. Also, and I'm going to recall again my answer, I think at the end of our last session, sometimes you actually need to have times and spaces in your life, like seasons in your life, to do this work. For example, I know that for me, holding this Sovereign Storyteller course right now is not a time for me to go digging deep into deeper layers of my trauma, because I'm here holding space for all of you. So I have planned and set aside time that once this course ends, some of the things I've been asking for my attention, I'm going to be able to give them that sacred time outside of these 6 weeks where I'm here in a different function, in a different role and responsibility. Does that make sense? Okay. Are there any questions or comments here for creating safety in our nervous system in doing the story work? Anything coming up for you all? Everyone good? Okay. So this all comes back to our guiding question throughout this course. How do we become more sustained, sovereign, liberated storytellers? Here's another layer of how we do that. Here we are tending to our memories as caring, courageous, compassionate gatherers, gathering all the parts of ourselves back to ourselves, allowing ourselves to exist in more full humanity with all the complexity, gathering our truths, gathering our wisdom. This is how we have a never-ending well of stories, of leadership, of teachings that we can offer to our people, okay?